Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show's Author Corner segment. And I'm excited to welcome the program Reverend Winn Henderson. Winn, how are you? And really, you're out there talking about so many things with addiction. Just to tell people how you've helped people with addiction so that they can contact you. Give us a little more background for people that have not seen your, listened to your podcast, or watch some of your videos and things like that.
Well, Neil, I've been working at this for 30 years plus, and the final product that I have out now would be my newest book, Freedom from Addiction 3, available on Amazon. And you can get more about that at my website, which is Reverend Winn Henderson, MD. .com. And the thing that I bring to the American people that they have not had before is a program that if you do just 3 things, you always get cured from over 30 different addictions. And I want to tell you quickly what those 3 things are. First, you got to want to get well. My program, as well as anybody else's program, is not going to help those people that don't really want to get well. And if a person doesn't want to get well, then there's no use calling me or reading me or whatever, because it's not going to work. The second thing is that you have to believe you can. And in my book, I write about what is necessary to have enough belief that you can insert this into the program, because belief is the biggest single thing that makes a difference between spiritual success and spiritual failure. And as a result of those first 2 things, the last thing is show up and do the work. The program is completely outlined in the book. You can do it at home. You don't have to take time off from work. And it's easy to do. And it's a matter of, are you willing to do these little things every day in order to get rid of all the problems that you have in your life with addiction, of which there are thousands? So that's what I'm bringing to the American public, and that's why we're doing these interviews, is to try to spread the word so that people will have hope that they can get rid of their addictive behaviors, all 30 plus some types of addictive behaviors.
So kind of looking at the topic for today is the Federal Trade Commission's new report on scamming, especially the kind of scamming that we're talking about, romantic scams. And what came out with the whole scamming Federal Trade Commission?
Well, the Federal Trade Commission has been protecting American consumers for more than 100 years. And now this is their new warning about romantic scammers. They say that romantic scamming has surged and generated more losses than any other consumer fraud in the past year. The median individual loss with a romantic scam in 2018, which was last year, was $2,600. And this is about 7 times higher than the median loss across all other types of fraud scams. The romantic scamming losses and numbers have quadrupled between 2015 and 2018. And the amount of dollar loss by victims has quadrupled during that same period, reaching $143 million last year. And typically, international scammers are what is driving this problem, even though you could get scammed at home by someone that is a possibility that you could meet, and you'll never meet an international scammer.
And at one point, I wanted to add, Winn, really quickly about why it's a lot more international. It's very hard to criminally charge somebody internationally or even sue them. it's a
Well,
much easier situation of criminally charging somebody for a scam in the United States than overseas. And that's why these scammers are feeding off that, because our jurisdictions would be very difficult to prosecute them.
well, that's right, Neil. And the thing about it is you have police forces like Interpol and stuff like that that can go after them. But unless you're being pushed and pursued like they would pursue a local scammer, these people feel like that they're above the law and that they can pretty much do whatever they want to with respect to taking money out of Americans' pockets, and nothing will happen to them.
Yeah, it's a bad situation. So continue with the numbers. Those were just such alarming numbers, Reverend.
Well, I told you that the scams between age 40 and 69 averaging $2,600 per individual who's scammed. But in the scammers that are able to take money out of the pocket of someone 70 or older, the average is $10,000. So you can see that they're going after older men and women because primarily older men and women have more money that they can be scammed out of. And so this is something, either way, 2,600, 10,000, whatever it is, that's a lot of money. And I have in my book the definitive guide for recognizing and avoiding romantic relationship scammers and catfishers. I have detailed how not to be one of those victims. So if you don't have an extra $2,600 or $10,000 that you just want to give up for nothing, you need to get that book and find out how you can fight back against these international scammers.
Yeah, absolutely, because there are so many little tricks of the trade that they end up trying, right? Like different things they try to do to try to make you confused, and you really believe it's a real person on the other line, where it's somebody different. It's somebody that might not be the same sex. It might not even be the person that they're saying they are. And you can spot it through reading your book.
Well, that's right. I give you a lot of little tips from actual experience from my research, which lasted over 6 months, going into Africa by way of telephone, text messages, etc., to find out what I could bring to the public that would tip them off to the fact that they're being scammed, so that they can get out of it before they form an emotional attachment to this scammer catfisher.
Absolutely. And that's such an important thing, because when you spot this before it happens, you'll say, okay, that is a catfisher. Okay, that is not the person they're saying they are. Like, not just catfishing kind of scams, but any of these online internet scams seem so real that you really believe that's the same person you're talking to, or messaging with, or emailing with, that you really have to be careful to verify if that's the correct person before giving your money or your secrets away.
Well, that's right. And you might say, well, I'm too smart to be scammed, but I can guarantee you that's not the case, because I'm very, very smart. And while I was researching my book, one of them was able to scam me for a couple months. So if the researchers can't tell the difference, and the person who has not been scammed before is really at terrific risk, because some of them are so good that you can't tell that you're being scammed unless you read my book.
All right, there's different places to go. Your website, WinnHendersonMD.com, is one. You can check out also by just Google searching your podcast, Freedom from Addiction. That's really a long-running program. It's not just been on, you just didn't start this podcast. You've been doing radio before anyone was podcasting in so many ways. How many years has it been?
I'd have to look it up. I'd say 18, 19 years, something like that. And there's an easier way to get to my podcast, and it's www.freedomfromaddiction.libsyn, spell that LIBSYN.com. If you put that in your search bar, address bar, that will take you right to the program. You don't have to go through iTunes or anything else.
See, that's very nice because you're very easy, and you talk about a variety of topics. Some of your famed guests are Larry King, Deepak Chopra, but you interview a lot of very, very intriguing people that you've really gotten great feedback from the show, haven't you?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you something, Neil. I learned more from interviewing these people and doing these shows than I did from 21 years of advanced education. So you can get that same ability to learn a lot of stuff by listening to these podcasts. There's over 100 podcasts. They're free, of course. You can subscribe to the podcast, and they'll let you know when we've got something new to listen to. But you could just go through those 100 different programs, and you would become so much smarter as a result of hearing what people on the cutting edge of what they're talking about are willing to tell you during these interviews.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. Look forward to our topic next week. I'm glad to see that, again, the Reverend Winn Henderson segment is going to be on, I guess, and even call it the Reverend Winn Henderson Show on the Neil Haley Network. It's exciting what we're doing and growing as creating great shows like yourself to provide great tips, but for people to think about that scamming and to really get on your local people, municipalities, and different internet sources and Facebook, Twitter, all those places to monitor this scamming so that really they can verify a person's created that account before someone's money is taken, especially that doesn't understand and is very trusting.
Neil, one other thing that I would like to say before we quit is that I have a Twitter account that's absolutely fantastic, and you help me with that. And it's quotes not only from me, but from some of the smartest people in the world. Every day we put out something new that's going to help you. And you go to twitter.com and then search for use the @ at Hugo the Artist.
All right. Well, thanks again for calling. Take care, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.